sweet mother god of feminist hypocrisy. So there was this white knight extraordinaire, Phil Moriarty.
I love this. I just love, the type of person that uses SJW and white knight as a defense of misogyny and sexism. That type of dickhead. And by the way, anybody who uses SJW as a pejorative, that's it. Argument shut. That is just the most brain-dead argument that there ever could be. Or white knight, as I've had to tolerate via lots of Twitter.
And tell us, Phil, what does social justice warrior mean to you?
Right, so
it's a pejorative term used by those who dislike criticism of sexism and misogyny, like Thunder.
I imagine Thunder wants to come back.
There?
Yeah, definitely a pejorative. How could you see SJW as anything but a good thing?
No, I don't agree with that.
Then why the fuck did you accept the position?
Because
Who the fuck hired you?
I have a different
You
vision
should
than you.
step down. If that is what you think about being a pastor, you should step down. It is not about creating an intellectual space. It is not. Do you understand that? It's about creating a home here. You are not doing that.
You're supposed to be our advocate.
How could SJW, how could social justice warrior, how could that not be a good thing?
Because people are typically judged on the actions.
So if you're saying that you disagree with her approach, it means that you are vested in the Western and Eurocentric way of understanding, which means you yourself still need to go back internally, decolonize your mind.
Yes, you've got to go back and decolonialize your mind of all that horrible stuff about trying to form predictive models of utility about reality. Yeah, all that predictive stuff, you've got to get rid of that if you want to study decolonialized science.
Western knowledge is very pathetic, to say the least. I, from a decolonized perspective, believe we can do more as knowledge producers, as people who are given the ability to reason, or whatever is that.
Yes, you're about to be given the pearls of wisdom of someone who thinks that, say, for instance, voodoo should be included as real science where Newton shouldn't. Brace yourselves, this may well induce a nuclear facepalm.
People say we do when we think or rationalize. So decolonizing the science would mean doing away with it entirely and starting all over again to deal with how we respond to the environment and how we understand it. Thank you.
But the thing is about social justice warriors is they tend to get judged on their actions, which is why SJW tends to get used as a pejorative.
Okay, I didn't follow that at all. Right, so if SJW is being used as a pejorative, it means that there is something wrong with fighting for social justice. Agreed?
No, it means that there is something wrong with the people who...
How could anyone argue that there's a problem with fighting for social justice? For example, talk about others like Thunderfoot. And last year I was on a MSS show with Thunderfoot. Thunderfoot has not done us any good in this arena either. Let's see what happens to the comment thread now.
Yeah.
Phil was one of those guys who would say how terrible it was for people to bang on about how they were scientists. Terrible, I tell you.
I'm a scientist. I'm not going to bang on about this. I know others in the YouTube community bang on about this quite at length.
But of course, never missed a chance to tell you how wonderful his qualifications were.
Myself. So my name's Philip Moriarty. I'm a professor of physics at the University of Nottingham. Yes, for the Sherlock Holmes fans amongst you, it is indeed Professor Moriarty. I'm involved in research, teaching, admin at the university.
I'm a member of what's called the Diversity Committee here in Nottingham. Physics.
I'm a professor of physics, University of Nottingham. To my role as admissions tutor, which means I oversee, along with a number of colleagues, applications to the School of Physics and Astronomy in terms of our various undergraduate degree courses, or BSc and our MSci degree.
So I coordinate something called a Marie Curie initial training network, which funds 14 PhD students across 6 countries.
I'm not going to bang on about this. I know others in the YouTube community bang on about this quite at length.
I've written a couple of blog posts on this. It's something that concerns me a great deal, because not only am I a member of that diversity committee, as I said before, I'm also undergraduate admissions tutor. Very keen to look at sort of gender balance and look at, number of girls coming in to do physics, number of boys doing physics.
Naturally, even though the university where he works, as with most British universities, had more women going to them than men.
At the moment in the UK, certainly in 2015, in terms of the gender balance of those going to university, it's tipped very heavily in favour of females, actually a 9.2% difference.
Now, he wasn't interested in addressing that sexism, because, it's only sexism when it happens to women. So, yeah, of course, he was only interested in the sexism when the minority was women.
Earlier on DPR, where the gender balance is much better. With physics, it's 20%, and it's stuck at 20% in terms of undergraduates. And Tim Hunt's comments, even if they were meant as a joke, are not at all helpful.
And yeah, that's the same Tim Hunt, the Nobel Prize winner, who got lynched because a feminist lied about him.
You put this in the context of the Royal Society just last year had a major story and a major amount of attention it really didn't want, because out of the 43 university research fellowships it awarded, 2 went to women.
Of course, Phil doesn't mention that they were independently peer-reviewed, like how academia normally assesses grants. Because these people have this crazy notion that academia should be a meritocracy and shouldn't be in the business of saying, well, I'm sorry, I know you wrote about a grant, but now we have to give the grant to this poorer application because she's got a vagina. And yeah, this is the guy who wants you to use your full name and employer whenever you're on the internet.
Where are you working at the moment, Thunder? You're in. What is your name anyway? It's Phil, isn't it? So let's call you Phil. I'll go by Philip, but let's call you Phil. So where are you working at the moment? Germany? It's Heidelberg, is it?
Well, let's not.
Yeah.
Let's.
No. Well, this is one other thing I really don't quite like is the whole sort of anonymity idea. But if Thunder's going to stand by his comments, let's.
Professor.
After all, these are just silly people using their silly monikers.
I just find it ridiculous that a man who's like me is in his 40s has to hide behind a pseudonym.
Who want to keep a little distance between themselves and their employers. It's not like there are feminists out there who will engage in a letter writing campaign to your employer, trying to get you fired, calling you a Nazi and a leader of a skinhead hate mob or anything. Now, is it? That would never happen. Decides she's going to write to my employer to get me fired by calling me a Nazi who hates women, who hates Anita Sarkeesian, and who has an army of skinheads who follow his every command. Which, of course, I didn't rise to, because crazy cat lady. Actually, now that I think about it, it wasn't just one letter, it was a letter-writing campaign.
People decide they're going to start a letter-writing campaign, or they're going to, people en masse are going to contact his employer.
With the intention of getting me fired.
I spoke as an employer, and I said, effectively, he is besmirching their reputation, and that they should basically give him the choice of either continuing to do these kinds of videos or continuing to be a scientist.
If you fucking lose your job, that's on you. If I lose my job for deciding to go online and have a message, that's not the person's job or fault that tried to fucking contact my employer. That's your fucking fault.
She then ups her game, not just bragging about her letter writing campaign.
Anyway, like I said, I'm not sorry. I did what I thought was right. It was a campaign. Other people wrote letters. Not just Bewildered Ape and not just me. But I won't say who, and I took down the channel. I took down the video, so you'll never know who said that they would.
But how she thinks this got me fired, and then reveling in how she thinks she's ruined my career.
Because he got mad at me because I made fun of him for losing his job.
And then boasts how there's nothing, absolutely nothing, that people can do to her.
And somebody else sent me a comment. They're going to contact my boss, which is apparently my husband. But part of the reason I wanted to do this video is these people can't do anything to me.
So sorry, I thought I could just hear karma calling there. And here we have a guy who Professor Moriarty has collaborated with to make videos with, and you'll see him later. And yes, he is genuinely going to tell you that an open feminist letter writing campaign to try and get me fired, writing those letters to my employer, who I had never mentioned on my YouTube channel.
He didn't like that, and I wasn't a massive fan of the letter writing campaign. And why is he doing this? Well, he's doing it, I think, to make money and to play the fucking victim. He's literally playing the professional victim at this point.
Was, in his mind, me being a professional victim? Dude, it was a letter writing campaign to the place where I work. How does that become me seeking victimhood? But hey, the guy's a professor of physics, right? It's not like he's going to say that Fisty Splinters or Kevin Logan or why the hell, why not? If you're going to put your arm into the pickle jar, put it in right up to the elbow. He's not going to say that Steve Shives is fantastic and doing a better job than he ever could.
So I'm going to leave it at that. As I said right at the start, there are those out there who do a much better job than me of criticising, critiquing the type of bile and vitriol that Mr. Benjamin and others like him spew out. YouTubers like Christy Winters, Chrisiosity, Michael Rowlands, Kevin Logan, who else? Steve Shives, of course. Wide range of different people. Could go and watch their videos and listen to what they've got to say.
And if you're waiting for him to laugh and say, "Ha, just trolling you," you will wait in vain. He's actually being serious. Yeah, good to know the sort of diversity officer the University of Nottingham has at the tiller.
I'm a member of what's called the Diversity Committee here in Nottingham, Physics.
He also gushes over a guy called Michael Rowlands, who I'd never heard of before.
Got to recommend a channel from somebody called Michael Rowlands, who's got a wonderful series called White Knights of the Manosphere, amongst other great series at his channel. And he pulls out, highlights some of the less literate, let's put it that way, less intelligibly worded, less coherently argued comments he gets on his channel. And some of those really are incredible in terms of the absence of any coherent thread of thought.
Well, I'd never heard of or paid attention to this guy before, but as it turns out, he rolled up on my Twitter feed the other day. I was tweeting about how I just smelted 1 kilogram ingots of bismuth and lead. And what's the amazing retort of this logical genius champion? Well, he used his feminist logic to somehow connect a tweet about bismuth ingots to Anita Sarkeesian. Oh, wow, that's the smart logic of a feminist white knight champion. Now, Phil and I met on a talk show called the Magic Sandwich Show many moons ago, but he just couldn't accept this part that we're a sexually dimorphic species, no matter how many times and how slowly I explained it to him.
Start with the basics. Do you disagree that there is sexual dimorphism between men and women?
Let's stick to the point.
No. Tell me, are women and men and women sexually
Thunder,
let's use your thing. I can't remember what your metaphor about dogs, whatever it was. Let's use that one. I don't really care about that. I couldn't care less. What I care about is the point in hand as to the claims that women are less capable of doing physics than men, which seems to be where you're going.
No.
He didn't say that. He didn't say that.
Okay, explain to me where you're going, Thunder.
Okay, let's start with the basics. Do you think that the reason that women don't run as fast as men is a matter of choice or biology?
That doesn't matter, right?
Yes, it does. Yes, it absolutely does.
No, of course
and that's the weirdest false dichotomy right there. We're
starting from the basics. Are there actually biological differences between men and women?
I care about what
I see what.
Where is your evidence?
No,
you're a scientist. I can claim that my favorite example is that, let's drag religion in.
I want to try this back. 1 second.
You need
1
evidence.
second, please.
Seems he was a fan of the Lacey Green school of logic, where men and women's brains were basically the same, so everything must be culture.
There are a lot of people with opinions about gender, but today we science, and I hear you do some sciencing now and then, Vanessa.
You could say that.
And it's no use saying, and this is in effect Mason's argument, it's no use saying, well, men are obviously different from women, therefore sexual dimorphism.
So the old saying goes, men are from Mars and women are from Venus. And there's a lot of debate about this, right? Is there such a thing as a female brain or a male brain?
However, one of the reasons I've spent some time critiquing Mason, trying to interact with him, trying to get him to give me some evidence for his, frankly, evidence-free views on this sexual dimorphism.
Well, it's difficult to categorize a brain as either male or female. So let's say you cut a brain open and you look at two parts, you wouldn't be able to say if it was male or female or even from a transgender or gender neutral person.
So if there's no such thing as a female or a male brain then, what's going on with differences that we see in people's behavior?
So the differences we see in people's behavior are mostly a result of our environment and not our biology.
Of course, you don't have to think about it long or hard to realise that's complete bullshit. If men and women's brains were basically the same, then why is it that men mostly want to have sex with women and women mostly want to have sex with men? Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the way horny teenagers have always been, even before they had classes and culture to teach them about.
Quite keen to revisit this and debate this topic again with Mason.
Does anyone contest here that the reason that we break up the Olympics by gender into males and females is because of sexual dimorphism?
Yeah, fine. We've got that point. Next point.
Right, next
Everyone
point.
agrees with that.
Yeah,
right. So
next
do you
point.
agree that there is evidence that we are a sexually dimorphic species?
However, one of the reasons I've spent some time critiquing Mason, trying to interact with him, trying to get him to give me some evidence.
Yeah,
right.
next
So
point.
do you agree that there is evidence that we are a sexually dimorphic species?
Do a
Does
what?
anyone contest that we're a sexually dimorphic species?
Yeah, we accept that. Next point.
Right.
For his, frankly, evidence-free views.
Do a
Does
what?
anyone contest that we're a sexually dimorphic species?
Yeah, we accept that. Next point.
Right. So why do you think the sexual dimorphism stops with physique? So what I'm getting at here is it's kind of like the Olympics, right? With the Olympics, you're looking at the very extremes of society. Right, these are the physical extremes of society, and on the very physical extremes, you tend to see the dimorphism between men and women more. Which is why when you take a look at, say, I don't know, the number of men who have run less than 10 seconds, there's, I don't know, only 100 of them, while there are no women who have done it, ever. Right? Now, that's not sexism, that's sexual dimorphism, but you tend to see it more at the extremes. And
Yeah,
I think
okay,
you'll
if-
find
if-
that
to
just
make-
like
to-
the
to
physical
make your-
differences between men and women, that those actually manifest themselves in other aspects of the physiology as well.
To make your
And
point
your
good,
evidence for
Thunder.
this is...
But for some reason, Moriarty's great logic just couldn't accept the obvious conclusion that men and women are different. So it would be expected, it would be the expectation that you wouldn't get parity of outcome.
Let's take another one which we could probably all agree on, which are testosterone and estrogen, right? Two hormones that sort of pump around the bodies of mostly, I mean, men and women both have them, but they're largely in different quantities. And, right, so do you think that these hormones affect behavior?
You've made it. It's exactly as DPR said. I don't want to go around in circles here, but you've made an incredible proof on the basis of no evidence. Right?
Yeah, the thing is,
what do you mean no evidence?
There's one.
Men and women are different, and you're saying that
No, but you can't specify in which respect they're different. Different on the basis that they are different. I wonder if I could weigh in on this.
The expectation is they're different. Yes, the expectation.
Yes. Yeah, the expectation that it would be that they would be different. If
I mean, come on, you know we don't divide up the Olympics by sex because of sexism, but because of sexual dimorphism. But no, Moriarty was absolute. Just because you're shown we're a sexually dimorphic species and wouldn't expect equality of outcome, he just comes out and says, yeah, but what's your evidence that that's true? Or whatever.
As well.
To make your
And
point
your
good,
evidence for
Thunder.
this is...
I mean, it's like accepting the theory of gravity and then saying, yeah, but what's your proof there's actually gravity on the far side of the moon? Where's your evidence for that? Now, at the time, I just didn't deem Moriarty worthy of a response. You know, when someone says that Steve Shives is wonderful, a warning. He, however, couldn't leave it alone. So after we exchanged a few fairly polite emails, I just told him, you know, as a professional courtesy, that I was actually kind of busy and didn't really have time for it then, and maybe he should contact me again when I was less busy. He still wouldn't leave it alone. So I thought, fuck it, I'll just troll the guy for the lulz. Seriously, in one portion of this email exchange, I wrote him an entire 70 words, to which he replied with over 3,500. You know, when I said, learn brevity, I might have had a point. But, you know, Phil had to get his condescending opinions in there about...
Dear Phil, I'm enjoying this exchange a great deal. It's remarkably informative, despite, actually make that because of, the semi-literate brevity and amusingly weak evasiveness of your responses. You're a research scientist with a PhD who apparently can't parse a few paragraphs of text. It's beyond your reading comprehension and debating capabilities to respond, in grammatically correct and coherently phrased English, to a detailed rebuttal of your evidence-free arguments. Really? Instead, we get a thoroughly weak, wholly unconvincing and astoundingly lazy TLDR.
I mean, how retarded do you have to be to say, you know, I really want to debate this guy. I know I should be really condescending and arrogant, and if I'm condescending and arrogant enough and insult him enough in private emails, then he'll super want to debate me. And he's doing this to a guy who he knows has a super busy schedule, with like half a dozen international trips within 6 months. Social skills absent, presumed missing. And yeah, eventually I just took pity on the guy. Okay, you're just too dumb to realise when you're being trolled. However, honestly, while trolling you is kind of fun. Oh, who am I kidding? I've not laughed so much for ages. Oh, please, for the love of God, publish the emails. The reality is, I'm just way too busy for this sort of petty crap. Thanks for playing. Oh, and by the way, next time try being honest, and you might find it reciprocated. End of line. And even after that, he was going around calling this a debate.
So the core focus of this video is really a debate I've been having with, rather one-sided debate, it's got to be said, with somebody called Philip Mason. So Mason is a PhD chemist.
And yes, that's him unironically using social justice wiki. I mean, seriously, he thought this was a real reply. Oh noes, the Nottingham prof is going to publish his last half dozen emails. Great spelling of emails, by the way. Trolling like that. I mean, that's my level of trolling. Where he tries to troll me with childish insults. That'll show he a grown-up. He thought that was real. Or your lack of self-awareness amuses me. He thought that was such a profound argument that he had to write a 200-word response. Honestly, what the hell is Nottingham paying him for? Oh yeah, that's right, diversity officer. Oh, and does this mean we're not friends anymore? You know, Phil, if I thought you weren't my friend, I just don't think I could bear it.
Does this mean we're not friends anymore? You know, Ed, if I thought you weren't my friend, I just don't think I could bear it.
And even after that, he wrote me so many emails I had to open up a spam folder, because he wrote to me a further 14 times till I just made it known in a video that I had created a spam folder for him. I mean, Jesus, dude. Even more moronically, he did all of this under his University of Nottingham email account, with the admissions tutor of the University of Nottingham footers. Where, I shit you not, he told me that if I didn't get back to him within a week, he would assume that he had the right to publish all of the emails, even when the footer of the emails this was all sent on said they were private and confidential. And even when I said, yeah, sure, go ahead, publish the emails, because all I'll do is show how epically easy it was to troll the guy, and how dumb he was for writing 1,000-word replies to things like this. So yeah, if anyone's feeling bad about me reading out his emails, As I mentioned earlier, he threatened to release them if I didn't respond in time. And when I said, yeah, sure, published emails, and then he did a collaboration with Kevin Logan, the guy who mocked me because my dad was dying of cancer, where he actually read his portion of the emails and got Kevin Logan to read mine, and then he got Kirsty Winters to promote it. Yeah, I think he might have crossed the line of putting this into the public domain himself. Yeah, let's just remind ourselves of the caliber of feminists that Professor Moriarty thinks that can represent feminism better than he can.
As I said right at the start, there are those out there who do a much better job than me of criticising, critiquing the type of bile and vitriol that Mr. Benjamin and others like him spew out. YouTubers like Christy Winters, Chrisiosity, Michael Rowlands, Kevin Logan.
FYI, the reason I stick with my childish pseudonym is because I like to think that an idea stands on its merit. Keep up the good fight though. It's always good to see a white man infantilizing women in the name of feminism, to the extent that he believes they can't do physics unless someone holds their hands and encourages them, and then having the lack of self-awareness to think that he just wants women to be treated as equals. Oh, by the way, I'm at a reactor doing an experiment, and I'll be doing another at another reactor at the end of June. Enjoy your teaching, or marking, or whatever it is you're doing. Smiley face, Thunderfoot.
As I said right at the start, there are those out there who do a much better job than me of criticising, critiquing the type of bile and vitriol that Mr. Benjamin and others like him spew out. Good morning, Philip. My apologies for the very long delay in responding. It's been exam and report marking season. EPSRG also decided to helpfully have the deadline for their latest Strategic Equipment Fund round of applications coincide with the exam period.
I mean, in one of his emails, he chastises me for being terribly childish, and that his 7-year-old son is more mature than I am.
You're in your 40s, Philip, and a reasonably accomplished postdoctoral researcher with a PhD in chemistry. I can't believe it's entirely beyond your wit to address my points without sounding like a 7-year-old child in a playground. Actually, that's rather unfair of me. My son's 7 and he's capable of much wittier and pithier riposts than her head up your arse.
Oh, freaking A, feminism there. Even better, let's just give him the benefit of the doubt for the moment and say everything that he says is correct and I'm more childish than his 7-year-old son. That means a grown professor of physics in his 40s wrote well over 5,000 words to try and debate someone when they considered them less proficient than their 7-year-old son. Which is especially ironic given the advice of his favourite feminist who he actually invited to give a talk at Nottingham University, Kirsty Winters.
It would be good to either have you there as a sort of video presence or indeed in person to do a session, to do a seminar for that. I think it'd be really good. So
in videos and in the comment sections, anti-feminists often take up the most extreme or the weakest feminist position they can find.
Actually, that's rather unfair of me. My son's 7 and he's capable of much wittier and pithier riposts than... As I said to Dr. Mason, that's the behaviour of a 7-year-old, and in fact I'm being unfair to 7-year-olds by saying that, because most 7-year-olds can come up with a wittier response than that. My son's 7, he can certainly have a pithier and more erudite response than...
Instead, why not take up the strongest, most robust feminist argument you can find and really challenge yourself?
Someone should really make him a diversity officer. Ah yes, Professor Moriarty. That's a truly impressive collaboration you did there with a man who you say does a much better job of defending feminism than you do. Truly it's an inspiration to all people who aspire to be professors of physics in their 40s. Hell, I could go on at some length, but I think you get the point. Being a professor doesn't mean that you're smart enough to realise that Steve Shives is a Category 5 moron. So I was rather surprised the other week to find out that he'd actually quit YouTube, Twitter, and his blog. Complete rage quit. Well, my first thought was maybe he had some sort of epiphany about all the crap he'd actually spouted and just quit out of shame.
I love this. I just love the type of person that uses SJW and white knight as a defense of misogyny and sexism, that type of dickhead. And by the way, anybody who uses SJW as a pejorative, that's it. Argument shut. That is just the most brain-dead argument that there ever could be. Or white knight, as I've had to tolerate via lots of Twitter.
Maybe he just couldn't take it that all those dickheads were actually presenting more rational and convincing arguments than he could.
However much I have concerns and irritations about the behaviour of Dr. Mason, that they pale against my intense, I'm going to say, dislike of Mr. Benjamin. I think he's an odious man, an absolutely odious man.
Or maybe the University of Nottingham were just kind of nonplussed to have them smearing their name over all of his actions. Don't get back to me my Monday, I'll assume I have the right to publish the emails. So being more than a little curious, because this was just a few weeks after I said, yeah, I don't debate enemies, I bury them, I decided to take a closer look. Now, it's difficult to know what happened for certain because he deleted everything, and all that's left is hearsay. However, it does appear that pushback from the internet was involved. Now, the last video I could find of Professor Moriarty looks to be just before he quit, where he basically says it wasn't worth his time, in direct contradiction to what he'd said just a few months earlier, where he was justifying why it was worth his time.
If I were to estimate how much of the sort of SJW versus anti-SJW exchanges I've had have been useful, 10, 15%, do a cost-benefit analysis in terms of the other stuff I have to do, that's not worth it. It's not worth. So one of my New Year's resolutions, as I said, is I'm going to cut down on this side of things. Explain my rationale for actually critiquing these people and address quite a few of the questions and comments that I've received under the video, under the blog posts, and indeed also I've received a few emails directly to my email account, which is University of Nottingham email account, which is absolutely fine. I'm very happy to do that. New Year's resolutions, as I said, is I'm going to cut down on this side of things because it is like debating with somebody who's incredibly religious, and I come from an incredibly religious background.
Yeah, Professor, because no one could ever make headway against a religious mindset with, say, for instance, convincing arguments now, could they? Or maybe he was just frustrated that no one would believe in his religion, because he made really crap arguments for it. So yeah, it looks like Moriarty had decided that he couldn't put forward convincing arguments for feminism anymore. However, also, there was this drama shit show when Baring was doxxed. And yes, Moriarty's favourite feminist, Christy Winters, was front and centre in that.
Hey, hang on, what date did you say this website released my docs?
On or about December 6th.
And what date did you say you took these screenshots?
On December 6th, when I took this screenshot 2 days ago.
Wow, so the day that this website releases my docs, which you had nothing to do with, you just so happened to be front and centre to have a good look at it. That is a coincidence.
December 6th. A well-known website that I will not put their name out there because I don't want to promote the doxing. Again, I'm not going to give the name of this website because the amount of personally identifying information on that website is quite extensive. Again, I'm not going to give the name of this website. Again, I'm not going to give the name of this website.
And apparently, in the fallout of that, Moriarty quit. Now, for me, there are some de facto rules on free speech, even if they're not written as such. 1. No real threat of violence. Once you're into threat of actual violence, it's not speech anymore. 2. Keep the splatter fire down. If Mr. X is a douche, fine. Keep it to Mr. X and what he said and what he's done. Trying to get at someone through friends and family is just a royal douche move. 3. Leon.
Easy, man. I'm a cop.
Then turns around, says something to Malky like,
no women, no kids.
Well, okay, no kids, because they ain't really ready to deal with this sort of shit yet. That's why they're called kids. If they're full adults shooting their mouths off online, it's all fair game. And even, and I want to make this especially clear, even if they are a woman. 4, don't be a douche. Don't target someone's job just because you don't like what they say online. Trying to mess up someone's real life is just a really jerky thing to do. Oh, and yeah, internet karma can be swift and has a brutal sense of irony. But of course, this is reality. Nothing is black and white. You've got to temper all this by, is it credible and the such like, or is it just some douche trolling? And you got to bear in mind, Moriarty's not the smartest cookie here. I mean, I am a rank amateur when it comes to trolling. But still, Moriarty mistook this for actual, real debate. So yeah, if someone's saying that they're a sniper with 50 confirmed kills and they have you in their sights. So, according to Sui, there's this ex-military sniper.
It was untraceable, and it said, I am an ex-military sniper. You are prepare to die. I'm outside your house. I have a target on you.
Because, you know, hashtag activists are often targeted by ex-military snipers. Indeed, it's now officially the 3rd leading cause of death in America. And this professional sniper was so hardcore that, of course, he sends a message to his target telling he's got his sights on her or something. Because, you know, snipers do that these days. And of course, you know that all American snipers can be thwarted just by closing the shutters, packing and leaving through the front door. Because it's well known that military snipers are incapable of hitting targets leaving through the front door carrying heavy bags.
I really did think that there was a chance that I could die. The police really weren't any help at this point.
What?
The police really weren't any help at this point. It was kind of just this survival mode.
And that sort of thing makes you flee your home. I think you're ready to have a dramumentary made about you on the Sci-Fi Channel. Or of course, if it's humour. I mean, if every dad who said, I'm going to kill you if you do that again, was taken at face value, every parent would spend half of their life in jail. Okay, so the word on the grapevine was Moriarty quit in the fallout of the Bering doxing shit show. Because someone threatened his family. Hard to tell if it's true because he deleted everything. Might be completely on the level, or it might be just that, well, we know he was looking to quit and that he was overinterpreting some comment in that this would have just been an excuse for him to quit and look like a martyr. So this, and I want to make this really clear, is 100% of rumour and hearsay. Now, if true, and let's just assume for the moment that this is the worst. Sure, this violates every rule on free speech. No threats, no splatter fire, no kids. But then again, Moriarty did not play this in the smartest fashion possible. I mean, I remember distinctly looking at his blog and seeing his kids on there and thinking, dude, what the hell are you thinking? The first shithead you run into on the internet will just try to use those to burn you. Again, it's kind of hard to show because he set his blog to private and no one thought it important enough to archive. But then, of course, you've got to temper all of this with, is it a credible threat? And you just got to be real. The number of people killed from random smack talking in the fallout of a doxing of a shit-talking bear is a pretty decent 0. Yeah, I think we might be in the 50 confirmed kills snipers hunting social justice warriors regime here. Islam bitches? Yeah, sure, then we'll talk. But yeah, basically this guy went from a heroic, brave, feminist, white knight going from this valiant crusade to a fight against all those cowards in the anonymous shadows.
Also neatly to the whole question of anonymity. I'm not a fan at all of online anonymity towards, let's be open, let's put our names to what we write instead of either on YouTube, either in the online fora or in scientific reviewing, just hiding behind anonymity.
Saying that how people should have their real identities tied to what they say online, to running to the hills when he meets the consequences of this utopia which he was so keen to impose on others when those come home to him. And let's be real, what most likely happened is he ran into a nasty troll. And like I was saying, Moriarty wasn't exactly the sharpest knife in the drawer when it came to spotting trolls. So, Professor, how do you feel about those silly monikers now?
And if it makes you feel more comfortable, I promise to use your Thunderfoot handle during the debate. I can't say fairer than that now, can I? I know how important your pseudonymous safe space is to you. It's clearly challenging for you to be open and honest with your identity. It just takes a little bit of courage. If you take it slowly, in stages, I'm sure you'll eventually be able to outgrow your reliance on silly monikers.
I mean, damn, he's had 1,000th of the crap I've had over the years. I mean, let me just remind you, I did get some real death threats back in the Islam days. You know, ones the FBI took seriously. I've had threats against my family. I've had people scope for my job in letter writing campaigns. I've been banned at one time or another from YouTube, from Facebook, from Twitter. And yeah, I've had pious jerks preach to me how I should just use my real name and employer, and even had them be so courteous to try to volunteer that for me.
Campaign. Where are you working at the moment, Thunder? You're in. What is your name anyway? It's Phil, isn't it? So let's call you Phil. I'll go by Philip, but let's call you Phil. So where are you working at the moment? Germany? It's Heidelberg, is it?
Well, let's not.
Yeah,
Let's.
No, well, this is one other thing I really don't quite like is the whole sort of anonymity idea. But if Thunder's going to stand by his comments, let's.
Professor, whether you like it or not, I'm not going to be party to disseminating information about people on the show.
Right. Anybody out there?
And I'm still here after folks like Moriarty tried to smear my personal details around because he didn't want me to have a degree of anonymity. So yeah, best guess at what happened, you know, in the absence of anything concrete. Moriarty, who of course was so keen to remove anonymity from others, you know, along with the allies he made videos with.
Why is it that you go on and fucking on about safe spaces and trigger warnings and delicate little flowers, but continue to hide behind your cartoon avatars and your childish pseudonyms, and whenever anyone calls you out on your sexist, racist, homophobic, bigoted rhetoric,
He merely got a glancing clip of the spotlight he wanted shone on everyone else. A glancing clip by a troll who had no respect for the rules. A royally douchey troll. And that's all it took to convert Professor Moriarty from a valiant white knight, social justice warrior extraordinaire to a jelly for backbone coward. Truly setting a wonderful role model for all of those women to look up to in physics. And yeah, I really don't like people who break all the rules. But honestly, it would be a damn sight easier to empathise with him had he not been such a condescending arsehole who had just got hoisted on the very lack of anonymity he agitated so hard to impose on others.
And if it makes you feel more comfortable, I promise to use your Thunderfoot handle during the debate. I can't say fairer than that now, can I? I know how important your pseudonymous safe space is to you. It's clearly challenging for you to be open and honest with your identity. It just takes a little bit of courage. If you take it slowly, in stages, I'm sure you'll eventually be able to outgrow your reliance on silly monikers.